My name's Terry Mankertz, and I am the head of sector for IT, electronics, communications, and creative and media for UKTI's investment services team. So I wanted to talk to you today about a few things. So 3 specific points that I think UK Trade and Investment can really help you with in terms of the UK. So firstly, I want to give you a bit of an overview about the UK as an inward investment destination. We think the UK is a fantastic place to bring your business if you're a foreign direct investor, whatever the sector you're in, but obviously I'll focus on the creative and media side of things. And additionally, I want to talk a bit about specifically the UK business landscape, some of the opportunities that exist here. And then thirdly, a bit of detail on how UK Trade and Investment can support your business. So we're really very much here to assist you, if you're a foreign-owned business, to come to the UK, come and set up here, and come and be successful here. So we've got a range of services around that that we can provide and that we can talk to you about in a bit more detail. So just to start with then, as I mentioned, why the UK? Why is the UK a fantastic place to come and do business? Just on a sort of generic basis. So these slides, some of the writing on the slides are a little bit small, but I'll talk you through some of this. There's a real vast market opportunity in the UK, irrespective of the sector you're in. We are the 6th largest economy in the world. Fantastic international accessibility. London alone has got 5 international airports, so very easy to come into and get out of. Very robust infrastructure to get around the country as well. We're a very small island, good train links, good road links, very easy to get from one place to another. For example, the distance between London and Manchester, 2 key cities in the UK, round about 2 hours on a train. So it's, as I say, very well connected. We have a very favourable business environment in general, including what we call enterprise zones. So these are specific zones where there are a variety of benefits available to businesses, and I'll talk in a bit more detail about those in a couple of minutes. Additionally, as well, we benefit from English, really, the international language of business. Now, in many ways, it's kind of an accident of history, but obviously, we take advantage of that. So. Whilst that is true, what I should also add as well is we do have a lot of language capability in the UK. In London alone, there's something like 250 different languages spoken. So talent-wise, if you're looking to source a particular language, it's here and available to hire. Just in terms of a place to live, it's a very, very stable place to live, very high standard of living in the country. This is really appreciated by a lot of the international executives that we help to relocate here. Very rich cultural heritage, so very comfortable place to live. But more importantly, coming back to the business side of things, lots of talent available here. So we've got 4 of the world's top 10 universities. So that leads to a lot of graduates coming out on an annual basis, obviously looking to get hired, with lots and lots of skills and a fantastic R&D base. So anybody looking to undertake research and development in the UK, great place to be. And there are incentives around that as well, which again, I'll talk about in a few minutes. So very educated, very flexible workforce existing in the UK. And then from a tax perspective, extremely attractive tax regime in the UK as well. So we've got a rate of corporation tax currently in the UK of 20%. So that's a tax on profits on corporate profits, but that's actually coming down over the next few years, such that it will be 18% by 2020. So it's a very, very low rate already, becoming even lower over the next few years. So very, very attractive place to be, really competitive. The most competitive tax regime in the G20, or the joint first place in the G20. So, you're not going to cost a lot in kind of payments to the government to come and be successful in the UK. Okay, I mentioned enterprise zones a minute ago. Enterprise zones are specific areas in the UK that we've sort of designated as being places where you can come and do business and come and take some specific advantages from being located in those areas. And actually, you're actually in an enterprise zone here in the Excel. So the Royal Dock Enterprise Zone. So there are 3 specific advantages from basing yourselves there, and there are 44 of these up and down the country in total. The 3 advantages are, firstly, you've got guaranteed superfast broadband. Now, you'd probably expect that in this day and age. Secondly, you've got simplified planning procedures. So if you want to build a property, if you want to extend a property, a lot of that red tape that might exist in other countries has gone. You've got a real fast track to being able to build and extend those properties. But thirdly, and I think probably most importantly and most attractively, there is a business rate rebate available from being based in these areas. So business rates are a local business tax in the UK, paid to local councils. You can get a rebate on that from being in an enterprise zone of up to £275,000 over 5 years. So actually it becomes really, really cost effective to base yourselves in one of these places. So we can talk more about that afterwards. I'm around for sort of Q&A afterwards. But as I say, you're in one now, but there are 43 others up and down the country that are well worth being aware of. Okay, coming back to talent. So I mentioned we've got 4 of the top 10 universities in the world, which is true, and we've also got 7 of the top 10 in Europe. So most people have probably heard of Oxford and Cambridge University, and they're obviously churning out loads and loads of graduates annually, lots of talent coming out of there that you can really tap into. We've also got Imperial College and UCL, University College London, as well, in the top 4 in Europe. So, as I say, real talent, real flexibility coming out of those places. Additionally, as well, these universities are obviously magnets for graduates and undergraduates from around not just the UK, not even just Europe, but from around the world. And a lot of them are staying on in the UK and looking to build their careers in the UK afterwards. So loads and loads of talent to to come and work for your companies here in the UK. Okay, I mentioned tax as well, and just to flag up that tax, corporation tax level again. It's currently at a level of 20%. Now, this is how it compares to our sort of key European competitors, if you like. So France at 33%, Italy 31%, Germany just under 30%, UK currently at 20%. And as I say, we've stipulated and we've stated that 18% will be the level in 2020. So that is a tax on profits. If you've come to the UK, and what can quite often happen with a startup, it might not actually make a profit in its first year, then that's fine. You're not even eligible for this tax. So it's only a tax on profits, and it's only that 20% level coming down to 18%. I also mentioned our research and development in the UK. There's a couple of incentives there that are well worth flagging up. Firstly, we do something called R&D tax credits. So this is essentially where you can get a rebate on the cost of your R&D in the UK to a level of 225% of the costs. So basically, for every £1 you spend, £2.25 can be returned to you for a demonstrable R&D costs. So a real incentive for being in the UK there, particularly if you're undertaking R&D. We also offer something we call Patent Box. Which is essentially if you can prove that something was patented and utilised in your product and that you're selling in the UK, that is only taxed, the profits on that are only taxed or will be taxed at 10%. So that's a real incentive again. So, even lower than that current rate of corporation tax of 20%, coming down to a really, really small level. So that's the sort of general business environment and just a bit of context. But to talk more specifically about the broadcast and media and the tech sector in the UK. This, I think, bears comparison with anywhere in the world. We have a real world-class offering in a number of sectors. Now, we would say that these are probably the key ones that we excel in, really, in these, these particular areas. Some of these are tech, so I've flagged up things like cybersecurity, stuff like financial technology. But on sort of the broadcast side, I mean, film, games, animation, real key strengths in the UK, and I'll talk a bit more about those in a minute. Interactive advertising, mobile content, that kind of thing. These are areas in which we do have, real world-leading companies and also real world-leading talent that are available to hire in the UK. So, well worth being aware of. Now, this slide is relating to whereabouts in the country are jobs in the creative economy. Now, in all honesty, I looked at that slide and thought that's the most boring slide in the world, so I changed it into that, which is a lot better. It's basically that, but put into something more palatable to read. So what it is, essentially we have nearly 3 million people employed in what we call the creative economy in the UK. So stuff like broadcast and media obviously falls under that. So to break it down a bit more, that means 1 in every 11 people in the UK workforce are employed in the creative sector. So this is a real strength of our economy. Nearly 9% of all jobs in the UK are in that creative sector. This is intrinsically important to the UK and is treated as such by the government. We need to encourage continued investment in this area, and some of those incentives that I mentioned earlier are part of that. Just to also mention as well, so that these jobs, the way it's broken down, the 2.8 million, so we've got 0.8 in non-creative support jobs within the creative industries themselves, and then 1 million creative jobs within the creative industries, and then also 0.9 million creative jobs outside of the creative industries as well. So lots and lots of variation there. The key clusters are London, 29%. So 29% of all of those jobs are actually in London. We add in the southeast of England as well, another 16%. There's a real concentration in London and the southeast. But it should be mentioned as well that different parts of the country, particularly the northwest, have a decent sort of level of percentage as well. 8% of those jobs are there. So places like Liverpool and Manchester, really strong in the creative sector. Places like Bristol in the southwest, again, 8% of those jobs there. So there is a good sort of variance across the country. There's a good distribution, whilst also, it must be said, London and the southeast is really, really the hub of it. Just to sort of flag a few more bits up as well about the value of the creative industries to the UK. I mentioned how important they were to us as a country. That's how important in monetary terms it is. £84 billion worth of GVA added to the economy by the creative sector in the UK. So that equates to £9.6 million an hour. So, no developed country, no country in the world wants to lose that. And absolutely, we want to encourage growth in that. So actually, the creative industries growth since 1997, or between 1997 and 2014, those figures, growth in the creative industries has outstripped general growth in the country by nearly 2%. So it's really, really a growth area, really, really strong sector for us. And this bubble in the middle breaks it down a bit further. Film and TV is responsible for 10 billion, nearly 11 billion pounds of GVA to the UK on an annual basis. That's how important it is. 36.5 billion in IT software and games. These are hugely important figures, hugely important numbers for us. And as I say, we look to really develop these industries as much as we possibly can. So another part of what we do around that is supporting export in these industries. So these are the figures around exports for the UK creative industries. The latest figures we have, nearly £18 billion of exports on an annual basis from the creative industries. So, a lot of support on those from UK Trade and Investment as well. Our guys can talk to you a bit about, how that works as well, how that support works. 8.7% of all of the UK's exports come from the creative sector. So again, it's that important to us. And also, the growth in UK exports, in creative exports, has outstripped general exports in the last 5 years by over 34%. This is a hugely, hugely important thing for us. So again, film and TV, responsible there for a huge chunk of that. IT, software and games as well, probably the key player there. In addition to all of that, we also offer specific tax reliefs for this industry, okay, for broadcast and media. So as I said, I mentioned the enterprise zones, I mentioned the corporation tax level, but we actually offer specific tax reliefs for film, high-end TV, children's TV, animation, and video games. Now, there are variances in some of these in terms of what the offers are, but in general terms, tax credits of up to 25% of core expenditure are available if this activity is undertaken in the UK. So if you come and film something here, come and shoot some high-end TV. So fairly nebulous concept, but we basically mean stuff like Game of Thrones and things like that, you know. So those kind of longer form kind of dramas particularly qualify in that kind of area. Children's TV, animation, another area where the UK is really, really strong in. Real, benefits, available there, and for video games also. So as I say, there's, a lot of, there's a great business environment in the UK anyway, but then there's a lot of real incentives to come and, and do that business here, coming from us in the government. Okay. These are some of the key clusters in the UK. Now, you may or may not be familiar with some of these, but just worth illustrating on the map. I mean, as I said before, this is a small island. It's easy to get around. I mentioned London to Manchester earlier, 2 hours on a train from there to there. London to Bristol, about an hour and a half on a train. London to Birmingham, about an hour and 20 minutes or so on a train. As I said, really, really easy to get around. So some of the key clusters for this particular sector. I'll talk about London in a moment because I emphasise the importance of London to this sector. Other places, Liverpool, very, very useful creative centre there. Birmingham, a lot of serious gaming there, the Serious Games Institute based there. Glasgow and Edinburgh should be mentioned as well for gaming. But specifically to pick some of these out, I mentioned London. So you may well have heard of something called Tech City. So essentially that's an area of East London that has developed really organically over the last kind of probably 10, 15 years almost. A lot of tech companies grown up there, a lot of media companies in there, round about 1,300 kind of tech and creative companies there. So it's not a single building, it's not a science park or anything like that. It's a real genuine kind of urban hub for for these industries and a real magnet for for entrepreneurs and for for finance coming in. These companies with their logos there have all invested in that area. So a lot of the big tech and media giants are really putting their money in as well. Just a couple of pictures from around Shoreditch. It's that kind of gritty kind of urban feel to it. Lots of shared workspaces, incubators, accelerators being added all the time. So it's really, really easy to come and just set up. Even if you just wanted to sort of think, right, well, I want to try out the market in the UK. Let me just base one person in an incubator in East London. Great, it's not going to cost you very much money at all on a monthly basis. We're talking hundreds of pounds, a couple of £100, and you've got somebody on the ground in the UK working for you. So really, really just to emphasise, London is traditionally very much the media capital of the UK, but equally, we would say the media capital of Europe also. Hugely, hugely important sector. All the global players are here. All the talent very much here in London. But the great thing about the UK is it's not all about London necessarily in this sector. I mentioned Manchester. The BBC relocated a lot of its operations up to Manchester about 4 or 5 years ago. So they've built something that they called Media City UK, where the BBC is based, and also ITV, which is an independent television company. So fantastic hub for that industry. Loads of graduate talent coming into it. Also very cost effective when you compare it to London. Things like property prices, salaries, a lot cheaper than you'd have to pay in London. So that's becoming a real genuine hub for this particular sector, and well worth being aware of. So really to emphasise that. BBC, I mentioned, are up there. McCann Erickson have a big presence up there as well. So really interesting place. And also an enterprise zone that I mentioned earlier, based there. So that's just outside the city centre in Manchester. And you get all of those benefits, the business rate rebate that I mentioned, from being based there. Another couple to mention. So Bristol. Bristol in this sector is really, really, really important for 2 areas. Firstly, the BBC Natural History Unit is there. So they are responsible for something like, I think the stat was something like 35% of all global natural history programmes are made out of Bristol, made out of the BBC in Bristol. So it's that important. It's really that sort of level of cluster. It's a fantastic place, loads of talent going into that, some great companies there. Secondly, as well worth mentioning, Aardman Animation. So Aardman are responsible for things like Shaun the Sheep and Wallace and Gromit and things like that. They've got their studios there, and obviously a great cluster is built up around them as well. So about an hour and a half on the train outside of London. City centre enterprise zone, so that £275,000 incentive in terms of a rebate to be based in Bristol, and all of that talent and all of those potential customers and so on based there as well. So it's a real, one of the standout places in the UK if you're in this particular sector. Okay, finally, just another place to flag up is Brighton. So Brighton is about, it says 30 minutes from London. That's 30 minutes from Croydon, if I'm honest. 45 minutes from central London, down on the south coast. It's a real, very creative kind of place to be anyway. So lots of different, very sort of creative feel, very sort of arty type feel to it. So some great talent base there as well, and some really interesting companies there, Babel Media, Mind Candy. And again, as I say, really well connected in terms of its access in and out of London. So again, well worth considering if you're a broadcast or media company. Really potentially great place to be. And again, saving money in terms of particularly property costs in comparison to London. There's a real good deal to be had there. Okay, just to pick out a couple of other stats. So just around VC funding, we get a lot of companies that we work with wanting to access funding in the UK, and that's great. I mean, we have something in the region annually in the UK of about $3.6 billion invested in tech and media firms. So this is a huge amount of investment. 37% of that is actually done outside of London, interestingly enough. So obviously London is key to it, 63%, but it's not all about London. So, we can make connections for you around this kind of thing. The UK is very much the strongest VC environment outside of the US. So if you're looking to access funds, you want to do it in Europe, really the UK is the place to be for that. And as I say, we can signpost you around that. Fast-growing startup clusters that I mentioned, lots of incubators and so on. We've probably got something. I think the stat was along the lines of more than a third of all of Western Europe's incubator spaces are based in the UK. So it's a real startup and entrepreneurial place to be. Okay, so just to reiterate then, just a few points. So the UK overall, really strong domestic demand. So 63 million people in the UK. But obviously, still at the moment part of the EU, and hopefully part of the EU and for business terms for quite a while, because it's a market of 500 million people. Obviously, we will still, whatever happens in the referendum, still have the geographical proximity to be able to trade with that market. Very, very skilled people, very, very large talent pool. As I've said, people get attracted to the UK, particularly to London, but not just London, but from around, not just Europe, but around the world. So we've got people here from many, many nationalities. So all of that talent to be able to tap into. The World Bank rates us one of the easiest places in Europe to do business. And we've got a very, very attractive tax regime, as I've mentioned. So low corporation tax, lots of incentives around R&D in our enterprise zones, and around the tax reliefs I mentioned in the film, TV, animation areas. So very, very attractive. So what can we do at UKTI to support you? So if you've got a company if you're a foreign-owned company that wants to come to the UK, or indeed is already in the UK and you want to grow, there's a variety of things that we can do for you. So we essentially assign a named project manager to work with you. That project manager is responsible for providing you with a free and confidential service. So the UK government does not charge at all any foreign companies who want to come to the UK. We want to encourage people to come to the UK. We want you guys, growing in the UK and employing people here. So specifically, what can we do? Well, we've got an in-house research team. So you can ask us to prepare a bespoke report for you. You might be really big in your home country in a particular vertical. We'll say to you, okay, well, let us research that vertical for you in the UK. Who are the key players? Where are the key clusters? Where do the opportunities lie? We'll undertake that for you and provide a report to you outlining where you should be in the UK and how to tap into those opportunities. And we can help to connect you with those as well. So great links with those centres of excellence that I mentioned, great links with universities that we can plug you into. We can provide the full range of support and information and connections around things like tax, around how do I incorporate my company, how do I open a bank account, how do I find a property? You know, we've even gone out on property viewings with people where necessary and advised on sort of office costs and so on. So, you know, all of that can be done, you know, with you and your, from our project manager that we will give you. And we will also help you with two really important things. First and foremost, how do I sell in the UK? How can I come to the UK and make a profit? That is question number one, and rightly so. So we'll flag up where the opportunities lie and help to connect you with them. And then secondly, where are the staff, you know, where's the talent? How can I recruit staff? Connect me with options there. And again, we can flag up stuff around that that will be really beneficial to you, to help you really sort of hit the ground running and, you know, and get up to speed really quickly in the UK.